Hello, welcome to ICRC-TV's COVID HR and Business Updates. I'm Candy Pridemore, Principal Consultant and founder of the Human Resource USA, and I cannot tell you how happy to have you back. Last week's show was the most viewed show we have ever had. And the feedback we got, I keep telling all of you every week that it's your feedback that's driving these shows. It's what you're giving us in terms of what you believe your needs are, what your concerns are, where the confusion is. It's what you're living on a daily basis that is the reason we keep showing up every week. I mean, we're extremely blessed that ICRC has given us this hour every week. But again, it's because each and every one of you have been watching the show. You've been passing it to your friends and business partners. And it's been a real blessing for all of us. So this week, we're going to continue the whole topic of employment. The gentleman that were on last week, Dan Netter from Aquarius Staffing, Walt Tracy from At Work Personnel here in Cincinnati and Kentucky, did a phenomenal job setting that base foundation for why we have all these jobs from the pandemic. And yet nobody's rushing back to go back to work, nor are they out actually looking for jobs. Today, I brought in two very, very experienced individuals on that whole topic of obtaining and retaining employees. I am so excited that Mary Miller from Jancoa has made time to join us today. Mary is known all over the country for two books that I highly recommend, one being The Dream Manager and her most recent being Changing Directions. Mary's going to talk to us about how she's not only been able to run a company, but also develop a tremendous base for her employees of over 500. And I know what you're going to say. Andy, you swore them down. You weren't going to bring in the big guns and expect us to follow their protocols. But let me tell you, Mary's got some secrets that are really not secrets anymore, and they're applicable. So you're going to love what she has to say. And then David Shenz, Director of Managed Services from ERP Suites, is going to join us. And he is going to help us better understand. He's that company I was talking to you about last week that actually has over 85% of referrals. I mean, his company with almost 100 employees is functioning by mostly referrals. And their retention is well over 90%, but of course, David's going to help us understand all that. So let's just jump right in here. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but 163,000 jobs are available here in Ohio.
Oh yeah, at least that's what's just being reported. Oh yeah, I mean, people are trying to open back up again. Now, well, I mean, good thing you're in Ohio than some of these other states. So you still have to be careful, but oh yeah, there are a lot of employment opportunities out there. And it's going to be very interesting because as of just a few days down the road here, the 25th of July, that extra $600 a week is going to stop. Now, there's a lot of debate as to what's going to happen with that, but debate is debate is debate. So it's going to be real interesting to see if this motivates folks that, unemployment is not enough to sustain a lot of folks. So it's going to be interesting. Plus, you're seeing a lot of demands coming back for folks that they want a safe environment. Yeah. And I'll just mention again, OSHA has requirements that you really do need to follow. I posted them free at scottwarwick.com. I mean, there's a big, very attractive COVID virus right there. You just click on that and all the stuff on the Families First Act, all this other stuff. But there's a half-an-hour video that meets all of the OSHA guidelines and all the requirements for bringing people back. And so I tell you, I think you should be safer going to work than you should be going to the grocery store.
Well, I think that's the perfect lead-in for Miss Mary Miller, who is coming today to help us better understand how her company that provides those kind of services to commercial property and employers all over the Cincinnati market and throughout Central Ohio. Mary, come on, you guys have been doing this since 1972. Why are you an employer of choice?
Oh man, that's a loaded question, Pandy, because things are different today than they were back then. We've learned a lot in almost 50 years of being in business, I'd like to believe that a lot of our experience has prepared us for the pandemic, but I don't know if anybody was really prepared for COVID to hit and to be able to do it. We have definitely going through, every industry is affected by this. I'm also on the Restart Task Force with the Cincinnati Chamber and on the Commerce Committee. So there's a lot of businesses involved, and Cincinnati wants to get people back to work and make it work well for everybody, for the consumers, for the business leaders, and to make it a success. And success, in my eyes, is people stay healthy and they can start creating their livelihood again. And I know last week we had a bit of a panic when we thought the governor was going to shut down our economy once again. You don't make any money cleaning empty office buildings. You know, our core business is commercial offices, over 100,000 square feet. And pre-COVID, we were up to over 600 employees. We are now hovering around 500, and we have been trying to call people back. So Scott, I've experienced that fallback of people not wanting to go back to work because they get an extra $600 that they weren't getting before. And that has been difficult for us to get people back. We have seen our customers, people in the commercial real estate, are taking this very serious. We're also members of BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association, who's been following the guidelines with OSHA and CDC and all the different ones to what do the buildings have to do to make sure they're ready for people to come back. And the buildings were requiring people to wear masks before the governor required it. And that's a really important part of it, to be able to make that happen. We have been trying to get people back to work because of people trying to get back. We're doing more of the touch points. We did not go down the rabbit holes of possibility to increase our revenue by deep cleaning and extra deep sanitation, where you would see the people with the white hazmat uniforms and fogging with bleach and that, because we didn't feel that was safe. That would be more detrimental, create more problems than the pandemic possibly, because that's a real health risk. But we do make sure we use the CDC approved chemicals to sanitize all the touch points on a consistent, regular basis. We make sure that the buildings stay cleaned and vacuumed, because you don't want the dust and dirt that the virus can hold on to, and to be able to make that happen. So yes, a clean building is a healthy building, which prevents people working in the building from getting sick. And I can tell you that that's something that people really are taking seriously, to be able to make that happen. We saw some buzz, a few weeks ago of more project work coming up with our customers, but then the talk has really, with the surge, more customers are talking about possibly delaying the reopening from the fall till the beginning of next year. Are you hearing that too, Scott?
Yeah, it depends on the industry. Some are a little more pressed than others. Yeah. My son heard something the other day that movie theaters were expected to open, and again, I don't know what source or anything, but the summer of 2021.
Wow.
No, put it this way, I wouldn't be surprised at anything at this point.
We do have a lot of people, but we're a family business. We haven't always had a lot of people. We're a mid-cap business, and we've grown organically to get to where we've been. We've never done M&A. So it's something that we felt the pain. I remember when I joined the business, my husband started, I joined him in 93. And the mantra during that economic issue was stay alive till 95. And I was so busy in the business, I didn't even know there was a problem. So it's today, everybody knows there's a problem to be able to do that. And our business works best when we have people, and to have the jobs to have people too. It's a really interesting ebb and flow, because without great people, we can't service the customers. And without customers, we don't need the people. And we've had some wonderful customers that we've had for a long time that don't want to risk shutting down and cutting off all cleaning services. And then when they decide to reopen, just have us back, knowing that we don't know if we'll get the same team back. Because, you know, people that work in our industry, they need the revenue, they need the livelihood. So there's more of an opportunity. As you said, there are jobs out there that they can easily switch to another job, whether it's in the grocery, retail, or whatever possibility it is. So it's definitely an interesting time. And we just continue. You mentioned the book, The Dream Manager by Matthew Kelly. That was written about a program that we created for our employees starting in the late 90s. We, you know, our industry turnover average in the janitorial industry is 400 to 500% average annual. And through programs to try to attract people to want to work for us because of the programs we have, how we train and what we do for our people, our turnover for 2019 was 100%, which is still high, but not for our industry. It's, you know, 300% less than the industry average. And I'm afraid this year is going to be worse because of the pandemic. There's not a whole lot we can do, but what we can do is to be consistent with our brand promise, to be able to create an environment that people who want to work in our industry, we make it a safe and healthy environment with them, to help them make sure they know what's expected of them so that they can be successful and they can go home at the end of their shift and not worry about bringing sickness or illness home with them. So we're really focusing on that a lot. And that makes a huge difference. We also, through our programs, we don't just focus on the task at hand of cleaning, but we really want to encourage people to go after the quality of life and improve their quality of life. And for us, that included masks. I mean, when we, back in March, it was impossible to get masks for people. They just weren't out there. And my husband and I are a little staying at home a little safe because of health issues, that we aren't putting ourselves out there as much. But what I'm doing is making masks. I've made about 500 masks for our team members myself personally. Goodness. And now I'm making them for our team members' children. We have one of our annual programs we do to try to help our team members and their family improve their quality of life is to help them get excited about school, back to school, and the importance of education. We call it our back to school bash. And this year it's going to look different than it has in the past. And our employees have let us know how many children they have, what grades are they going into, and each child will get a bag of free back to school supplies, which will also include a mask, a cloth mask, not one of the disposable ones that can be reused and washed. So it's something that we are always trying to, as a business, stay intentional, stay purposeful, stay successful to serve our customers and to be able to serve our team so that they can serve our customers.
You know, that just reinforces the conversation that we've had about family. When you talk about primary family and secondary family. And David, when I spoke to individuals there at ERP Suites, that's the word that keeps coming out with their description of your culture is family. And you know, give me a little idea of what ERP Suites does, because from what I understand, you're mostly remote workers.
That's correct, Pandy. And yeah, so thanks. There's a couple of things I think that Mary talked about that are really important. You know, she hit on in this time of COVID, it's really important to keep the family safe. And one of the ERP Suites values is do the right thing for the ERP Suites family. And you know, that's our workers, our coworkers, our clients, as well as all of their families. And so it's really crucial that they have an environment that's safe, you know, that, you know, that we're very careful about making sure if people have to be in the office, that they're able to follow the right, you know, safety protocols. So I really like Mary's conversation about, you know, having masks and disinfecting things and everything else. So that actually followed a lot of our conversation at a leadership level at ERP Suites around the cleanliness and the disinfecting and everything else. You know, I think the other piece is that at ERP Suites, we found that we're able to retain talent because we really emphasize networking and people that we already know or that somebody else knows. That referral is really powerful, and it's really important to us that the people that come and work for ERP Suites and become part of that family are people who will fit in and want to fit in and really be in that atmosphere, and really envision our values and live our values. So that's always really important. I think in terms of the retention of it as well, that also pays into the other side of retention, because people want to come to work with people that they enjoy working with.
Exactly.
And so, people will recommend people that they want to work with, not people that they don't want to work with. So, you always have a much stronger, when somebody's actually recommending somebody to join our company, that's always a really strong sign. And we incentivize that as well. And, that's also on the other side of it. If you're searching for a job, it's really powerful if you're able to actually network into the job as opposed to just, blind dropping a resume, because then, you know kind of what you're getting into from a company and a culture, that it's the right fit for you. And you really have somebody who's willing to speak on your behalf and say that this person will be a good fit and I want to work with them day in and day out. So that's, really
100%.
powerful from the other side.
100%, David. We don't advertise for jobs either. It's been referral based, and we incentivize that as well. And they know more what to expect. The people that come in from ads have their own sense or their own sense of what they think it's about, and it's 100% wrong 100% of the time. So having that known connection, I 100% agree with you, David.
Now, do you agree? Do you also agree then? Do you guys sit down and actually have brainstorming sessions about this is what we're looking for, and these are maybe possible companies that we would like to get them from? I mean, is this a team effort, or is this just kind of word of mouth as it happens?
It's a little bit of both. There's certainly some of it just happens to be, my friend is looking for a job and I think they'd be a great fit. And, sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's also, as you indicated and really rightfully pointed out, it's also something that we put an effort at, and we'll sit in a conference room. Well, maybe not right now in the time of COVID, but, we'll spend the time on a meeting and look through our networks and think about, who are some people who would be really good fits and who we want to reach out to and maybe make some connections. And, it's something that you want to, you don't want to wait until the house is on fire to start that work. It's something that you want to do proactively because, there's a bit of a timing thing, right? They may not be ready to move right now, but they may be ready to move, 6 months in the future. And you want to kind of start to sow those seeds and water them and grow them so that when you're ready for someone to open the position and they're ready to make a move, that you can kind of line it up and have everything ready to go.
Yeah. I was looking at both of your benefit packages because, Mary, you've even got yours posted on your website. You want to make it very clear, look, employment with us at Gencoa includes this. And what really interests me on both of you is that you have community and as well as employee company activities. So it's not just that you all work together, but you also enjoy and play together. I mean, you're encouraging that. Mary, you've got some beautiful pictures on there. And what tickled me is you're not just showing the employees. My gosh, there were equal number of kids in those pictures.
Absolutely. When you help the children of your team members, you create a different sense of loyalty and connection. And that makes a difference. And when you connect with community, saying, I want to help the people part of your tribe to help improve the quality of life, that makes a huge difference. I mean, a big part, not only do we get references and referrals from current employees, but at one point I recorded 7% of our new hires in a year were from past employees, people that have referred people that have left and moved on. But we've also tapped into agencies, nonprofit agencies that are trying to help families and to be able to work through that piece as well.
Sure.
And
David, I'm sorry, David, I know for a fact in talking to one of your representatives that you've had past employees try to come back who went out and thought the grass was greener and then suddenly realized, ooh, it's not as much fun and I want to go back to my friends. And what kind of a compliment is that to a culture? I mean, that's, as we're talking to our viewers and we're trying to give our viewers some ideas on what they can do within their culture and within their businesses, These are easy things that don't require a huge HR team, and they don't require a huge budget. And
you know, Pandy, a lot of times people would put down if people quit, if they don't give their 2 weeks notice, just not rehireable.
Yes.
But sometimes those are the best people to rehire because, like you said, they found out the grass isn't greener, and they found out you treat me like family. And yeah, they don't apologize, but they do come back and they do good work.
Yeah, accountability is another whole show, let me tell you.
You gotta have them first before you can hold them accountable.
What you're talking about, I'm just finishing a couple of books. I'm working on a book and I'm doing research, and Ruby Payne, she did Bridges Out of Poverty. And this book here, it's in its 6th edition, Understanding Poverty. And these are all the folks that work at the lower paying jobs. And it's really interesting. Number one factor for retention and whether they'll work for you is whether people in lower paying jobs, whether they like you.
Oh, absolutely.
Number one. They will, I mean, if you disrespect somebody who's used to getting disrespected all the time, I mean, honestly, the worst crime you can commit in America is to be poor. And so these are very commonsensical things that, you know, that you've cut. I mean, I've done a lot of things with housekeeping and with commercial businesses that clean offices. To have 100% turnover is just unheard of.
You know, Scott, it's really interesting when you say that, you know, with people, if they like you, it doesn't take a lot to get somebody to like you. And, you know, business owner, people have their own perception of who I am and what I do. And they've got this vision of success. They have no idea that the year I turned 30, my life imploded and all the problems I went through. They don't care. They're in their own survival mode.
Yeah.
But like it had come to my attention, my assistant let me know that there was a negative Facebook post about one of our team members who had got one of my specially made masks and was unhappy because it broke. So I called her and she's like, I'm sorry, who is this? And I apologized. I was trying to do it. I said, you know, if you go to the office, we can get you another one. And I'm sorry, we can't bring it out to you, but we do clean over 200 buildings and we just don't have the staff to deliver things to people all the time. But we want to make sure you're safe. And I'm really sorry that happened. And she was just speechless. So it's that humanity. We have to connect to the humanity.
Yeah.
And that's a really great point that you made, Mary, because one of the things that I found and researched is that one of the reasons people leave jobs is because they don't feel appreciated, or because somebody never said thank you, or they never said sorry that we made this mistake. And just doing those two things is really powerful. One of the tools we actually implemented at ERP Suites is a tool called Motivosity, which allows for peer recognition and feedback. So that way it's really helped break down some of the silos between teams, is because they're actually able to say thank you for, you know, helping me with this issue or helping me with that problem. And so it's really amazing to see you're seeing a lot of thanks going back, not just from, you know, the management and the leadership and the owners down, but also across those individual silos and across peers. So you see a lot of that thanking now really help improve and lift morale. And that's been a really powerful idea for us.
Let me ask you this. I've got both of you sitting right here, and Scott, please chime in. But let's think about what our viewers need to be really thinking about, because you gave them phenomenal things to retain, but what secrets can we give them to pull these people out of the unemployment line and gravitate to their companies? The first thing that I came up with, or just in thinking about, was, Mary, the fact that you're so transparent with your benefits. And when I work with my clients, in some industries say, look, you need to have a benefit summary separate from your handbook, something that you can put in front of a recruit and actually, you know, kind of entice them to let them know, you don't have to wait till after you're hired. This is what we're offering now. But something else that you guys also said that I want to pin in is, David, based on what you just said, I'm thinking of all the times that people apply for jobs and they never hear anything. Because everything's done online now, I think it's an absolute crime, and we need to correct it, that someone isn't reaching out to every applicant with some sort of communication. And I know that a lot of the applicant tracking systems do this automatic, but get in there and put a name. Don't be it that it's thanks for applying, we'll check, we'll review you later. You need to be making this more personal so that they get that cultural connection, that bonding begins at the time of the resume. Does that make sense to you too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you create that connection, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that's
a lot of HR people who need to hear that message, Pandy.
Yeah, for sure.
You got it. HR is human resources.
Yes.
We have to acknowledge the humanity.
Yes.
You know, I tell you, all this stuff is just really interesting. If you look at what's happening in the world today, it's really driven the appreciation of labor through the roof. These are the people who do the work. It's the biggest part of your budget. And there's an interesting study, if you have something else to do to cheer you up, Steven Spielberg's special on Netflix on why we hate. It's a phenomenal, mind-boggling. I've watched it 4 or 5 times because I'm citing to it in my book.
Have you figured out?
Oh yeah. Oh, nails right on the head. Absolutely. We're animals. We're wired for fight or flight, and you prime your hate with whatever you want. If you have a juicer, we've all got juicers of fear and flight and everything. And if you pour beer in there, then you'll get beer out. If you pour oranges in there, you get oranges out. Well, basically, we pour all kinds of people in there, and the number one people we pour in there are people who are poor. They're completely disposable, and that's how you're used to being treated. And actually, there's a study in the documentary that we humans see different people as being less than human. The average American 100%. Sees a Mexican at about 80% human. We see anyone who is Muslim as about 80%. Of course, we're 100% human. Okay, don't get me wrong there. Okay, so we actually have this in today's society. You see it with Black Lives Matter. You see it with everything else. But really think of the person who lives paycheck to paycheck. The people that I see, breaks my heart. I see these folks with their kids in the back seat in the food pantry line during this COVID.
Right.
So I know a lot of folks that economically it's hitting them, but they're not worrying about food. That's what these folks are. And they, think of the self-image when they come to work for either one of you, and we treat them with respect. And, quite frankly, you're here to help me run my business. And I don't see you as being any different than me. Honestly, that is worth a pocket of gold.
Scott, I did not wake up one day, and I wish I could say I did. I just woke up with this great aha. I'm just going to appreciate people and make sure that they can improve their life. We went through the hard way, and I hope that people can learn from what David and I are saying. But we got fired by a consultant. He said we had to fix our people problem. He couldn't help us. And this was back in '97. And it's like, it wasn't that our people were a problem. We didn't have enough. So one of the first things we did was we started transporting our own employees, because that was the number one problem they had back in the late '90s. Not much better today, but we got the sort of thing passed, and that will get better because I'm on that board and we've worked hard for that.
Right.
And we start picking up people, but doing that, we saw where they lived. We heard them talk about their obstacles and what they had going on in their life. And we didn't have enough people to clean, let alone drive a shuttle. So my husband was the first shuttle driver. And he's got this horrible rule. If he can't sleep, I can't sleep. So he would come home, since our people work 6 p.m. to 2:30 a.m., he would get home between 3:30 and 4 and wake me up and share these stories. And our heart broke.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were so into our own survival, we didn't even know what was going on. But once we saw it, we had to do something about it. Yeah. So that's the one thing that I would recommend, Pandy, is to take a look at your people and find out what do they have in common? What are their obstacles? As businesses, we're always trying to create value for our customers. We don't get rewarded. We're not successful if we don't create value first. We now have like the scales of justice. We create value for our customers, yes. But if we don't do the same for our employees, then it's out of balance and you can't survive.
Well, and another thing that the two of you have in common that I really want to make sure we get out in the show before we run out of time, is that you both have tremendous succession or career development programs. And David, I was amazed at the percentage of your workforce, which is, you've got almost 100 employees, or have, and Mary used the term organic, but you started with them at the very bottom in a call center and grew them up to now $60,000 and $70,000 wages. I mean, that's something to be really proud of.
We have area managers that started as a general cleaner too. So yeah.
Yeah, that absolutely. You know, that's been one of the hallmarks of why we're successful and why we're able to succeed, because there's some roles that we fundamentally can't recruit for anymore because just those technical skills aren't available on the market, or they're incredibly expensive to go and recruit. So we found that we had to actually build people into those roles and build them into those roles. And we, hire people into the help desk, from 2-year colleges, and we'll start training them. Even from the very first day that we interview them, we start asking, what is your passion and what is the thing that you really want to grow in? And we start trying to make room for those opportunities and for them to start working with more senior people in a mentorship model so that they can start developing those skills. And, that goes from, one of the things I sit down with the managers and the leaders is to say, from all the way from the ground up, who's kind of moving into what role and where are they trending, and how do we get them into that role, and how can we make some room for them? Because that's really been the way that we've been able to continue to grow, is because we've really been able to build that talent pipeline.
And I know that's work. I mean, again, from my perspective, being a consultant coming in and the years I spent in corporate America, I know that takes a lot of work. It's people don't even want to give performance evaluations anymore. But look at the rewards that has given you. Mary, you've seen it in your workforce. Again, to our viewers, please understand that these are investments. These acts and these decisions are investments for you.
Absolutely. The return on the investment, Pandy, excuse me, but I just want to make clear, if we didn't start investing in our team members, we couldn't have grown our business. We couldn't have acquired more customers, because you got to have enough people to serve them. And determining to do that, we figured it really hasn't cost us anything, because the return has been so huge. I don't have to tease my husband about becoming a nonprofit anymore, and we've got family members that are transitioning into ownership as Tony and I transition. And they wouldn't do that if we didn't have a product or company worth something that they would want to invest their own time in. Right. So it really does make a difference.
And we've talked about this on previous shows. A company's culture are not the words or the plaque that's hanging on your wall. Your culture, which people will follow and people will support, is what your employees say about you. It's what you do to live to what you say. And David, I've heard nothing but wonderful things about ERP Suites. I'm just so thrilled you were here to join us today. Again, ERP Suites is the IT organization, and they hire people from $17 up to 6 figures. They've got the gambit, and to have well over 90% retention is absolutely phenomenal, with remote workers as well, Hawaii to New Jersey, I believe. And you've got a number of positions right now, which is really good. So, and Mary, my gosh. You could take a whole show all by yourself. I should have given you more time. Guys, any parting words for our viewers? Is there anything that we missed? Because again, communicate, listen to what your employees have to say, get that connection started immediately. Let me add this. I've actually had candidates that I had to send a turn down letter to thank me and say, thank you so much for getting back with me. I really appreciate it. It's odd that they would ask me why they didn't get any further in the applicant track or the applicant process, but just the mere fact that somebody reached out to them and gave them some feedback. Everybody wants
absolutely
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any parting words for our viewers?
I would like to recommend that you have your team huddle and make a list, because not just because you're clear on what you see your obstacles are right now, make sure that everybody on the leadership team have the same thoughts about those obstacles. Don't ignore them. Give yourself the freedom to write down every obstacle you have on why you can't get and retain people. And then one by one, come up with a strategy that will just move that forward a little bit. And maybe one strategy is just to ask real clear, what would be the best result? What would that look like? Because when you take time to gather that group genius, to have these conversations together, you get different answers, and then you could put together a different kind of action plan. But sitting and waiting for the COVID to go away is not going to help us deal with what we're dealing with today, because we don't know if it's 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years. We just don't know.
No.
So I think the best thing is to embrace where we're at today, be willing to embrace change, the number one chapter in my book, Changing Direction, because you can't make anything different if you aren't willing to embrace that change. And what can you do differently to get the results that you want?
Good. David?
Yeah, absolutely. I would echo Mary's comments that it's something you have to spend time with every day, and your team and the leadership and the managers all have to spend time every day about how to focus on how to build a great culture, how to say thank you and I'm sorry, as well as spending time to do that networking and that recruiting every single day. Those are the things that really kind of help us be successful at that.
I love that. How to say thank you and I'm sorry. That's huge.
Yeah. Guys, I will say thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I don't have more time to give you, but I will encourage our viewers, if you have any questions or would like to continue picking their brains, both of our presenters are more than welcome to talk to you individually. You can send them a message through Facebook, or you can contact Mary Miller at Jancoa here in Cincinnati, and David Shenz at ERP Suites. Both have wonderful websites, and I know that they will be more than happy to help you. Guys, thank you.
Excellent.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
Scott,
Yo,
come on. Are you ready?
sure thing. There's always something fun to do, isn't there?
You know what? I got my litigation tracker.
Okay.
364 lawsuits since March 17th.
88.
And primary reasons are retaliation, wrongful termination, discrimination, and workplace safety, with 69 of those being workplace safety. That's just the beginning. You and I both know that is just the beginning. And with that, I want to remind our employers that have individuals in Virginia, please be aware, and I want you to start looking for the workplace health and safety standard. I guess Virginia as a state decided that OSHA was taking too long to come up with those safety standards, and they put them in place themselves.
Wow.
Yes. So on July 15th, Virginia's Safety and Health Code Board actually put in place safety standards at every employer. So don't think that if you have less than 100, you're going to escape this. I keep telling you over and over again, and Scott helps me with this, if you have remote workers and you have an office space or logistics and distribution centers in other states, if you have a location, period, you absolutely have to know those state laws. And we're going to bring some of this to you as much as we possibly can, but gosh.
Well, yeah, but don't go there. I mean, it just is amazing to me. It's, I got clients that's like, oh yeah, we're so excited. We just opened up a branch over in such and such. I'm like, okay, did you check it out? Oh, not really. Just, it was nice. We got a really good rate on the rent. Yeah, you got a really good rate on the rent because nobody goes there. Okay.
Wants to go there. California.
Well, that's one of them. Yeah, you better have a little higher profit margin but it does. It's something you really got to think about. And I was talking to a banker the other day on this type of COVID stuff and everything, and he said, yeah, you come in with audit checklists and everything, a marketing plan and everything, and there's things on your checklist for labor and everything, but it's the biggest part of your budget. And to go in and try to manage employees, and you can't even spell ADA, and I'll tell you, it's amazing. Mary had mentioned consultants, and I thought this just rang in my head as I got a call from a friend of mine saying, all this stuff about, well, I'm a high risk person. My doctor gave me a note that said that I need to quarantine. I said, do you understand what that means? You can't leave. I mean, you're kind of, quarantined. Oh yeah, I understand. And so I want to work from home. I worked through home for the last 2 or 3 months, and the 20-some year HR consultant said, well, no, they're not doing that anymore. Yes, you are.
That's why I have a job. That's why I have a job.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I asked, I said, how long has this person been doing human resources? Oh, about 20 years. Okay, that tells me you've been doing it wrong for 20 years. You've got to be kidding me. And again, you've heard me say this 100 times over. Every employer, you got to know the ADA cold. I mean, you got to know it cold because it will apply to every employer in this country. I mean,
but you've also said,
absolutely.
You've also said over and over again that everyone needs to understand the Fair Labor Standard Act. And it was interesting.
Fair Labor Standard Act.
I read a white paper this past week that said that they're finding a number of companies that are withholding last paychecks because they've laid people off and they're not making those. Guys, you've got to understand, viewers, please understand. Again, if you have remote workers, each of the states may have their own guidelines on when that last paycheck has to be administered. You don't get to decide. You have to abide by your state laws.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the use of volunteers. There was
okay. Yeah.
No, we talked about 1099s last week, but now we're going to go around that by bringing in their neighbors and their kids. And
I can bring in volunteers.
No. Okay. Now we're back to that 501c3 thing, that nonprofit status you're talking about. Look, if you're a church, wonderful. Okay. Bring in all the old ladies you want to go and help. Okay. If you're a nonprofit hospital, knock yourself out. But, I tell you, these shows every week, I just love them because every week I get these calls and everything. And I'm just thinking, oh, Pandy's going to love this. Okay. So, think of the whole world of employment law. We got labor law. We got all kinds of different things. Title VII. You can only put so many videos at a time. And I posted 4 videos. It's a 5-hour ADA, 5-hour FMLA, 4-hour Fair Labor Standards Act, and of course, sexual harassment, because we still have the Harvey Weinsteins of the world. But think of this. Why do you choose those 4? Why did I choose those 4? Because those will apply to everybody. Unless you got less than 50 employees. If you got more than 50 employees, all 4 of those are going to they will affect you this year. Yeah. You better know what in the heck you're doing. And they don't, even experienced HR people. I don't know if you've seen some of the conferences around, Pandy. I'll tell you, in a year that we got sexual orientation and gender identity, Families First Act, CARES Act, I'm not seeing a whole lot of legal stuff going on. And I'm like, no, are you kidding?
No, because that's not important. That's not where the money is.
I'm going to go to one of those sessions that says how to make everybody feel good.
If I can toss one more in, the other one that I see a lot, I'm treasurer of a nonprofit that deals a lot with wage theft. You cannot believe how many hour and wage and hour violations, minimum wage violations, overtime violations that we see. We've recovered over $1.5 million in the Cincinnati area in probably the last 5 years. That's, 100 here, 100 there.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Especially right now, and again, this is a COVID show, so we have to stay focused on COVID. Under the COVID consequences right now, the Fair Labor Standards Act is highly, highly violated because people don't know how to pay remote workers properly.
That's your time.
So I do get to plug something for myself. I'm giving a seminar on Thursday morning on just that. But let's go to another subject, Scott. And this is one on, how I get on my little soapbox every week. But this is one that I talked to you about here 2 weeks ago, and it has not necessarily gone away. And I really feel like we need to kind of approach it with our viewers. There is so much stress, and we have been talking about this. We've also been talking about how you need to communicate with your employees and stay in touch with your employees and look them in the eye. No matter how that works, you need to look at them. Mental health is, the conditions and concerns around mental health are increasing at a huge, huge rate.
Yes.
And this is a serious topic that I really, this has hit me personally here in the last week. And I really think that our viewers need to be aware of what your responsibility is as employers. One of my clients, and this is the first time in 40 years I've been doing HR, one of my clients had an attempt suicide on the work site. Now, this is not something they were expecting. This was an employee that had been there for a while. This took all of us by surprise. This is serious. And I'm not telling you that it's going to happen to you. I'm just saying I want you to prepare for it. And the best way that any of you can do that is understand your options and what you should be offering your employees now before it gets to that point. I want you to each talk, we've talked about this. Your employee benefit broker should be one of your best friends. They should be on speed dial.
Yep.
And if you don't have an employee benefits broker, call one of them and I'll give you a list that will talk to you for free. But here's what I want you to ask them. I want you to ask them what your health plan offers in terms of counseling. What does your health plan offer in terms of wellness programs? And even if you don't offer employee benefits or health benefits, there are wellness programs out there that might offer solutions for your employees. I want you to ask them about EAP programs because those are just spectacular, especially for the larger groups. And that's a part of the plans that you're paying for anyways. So it's a difficult conversation. Everyone thinks it's never going to happen to them. You know, Scott and I, Carl, we all said it's never a problem till it is a problem. It's a mantra that we live with all of our prospects and clients. The problem is when it does hit, you got to know what you're doing. Right. So, you know, I even
really seen the statistics, right? I mean, you've seen the statistics. That's why it's in your mind. I mean,
well, we're even getting people who don't want to wear masks because they have panic attacks. You know, that might be legitimate. You need to listen to your employees if they're saying, I can't wear this mask. I'm feeling claustrophobic. I'm having a panic attack.
ADA. Yeah. You know, you mentioned a good thing about that, though. I mean, I got a seminar coming up. It's a webinar for community action folks on just this, the level of depression.
Yes.
Over this. I mean, first of all, did you see that they got a COVID channel? Did you know that you can sit there and bathe in COVID news all day long? Don't do that. You've got to be kidding me. How much bad news do you want? It's just like, okay, who got murdered today? Then I'll switch over. No. And on my website, if you go there, and I post a lot of free stuff because I just think it's important. And you know how I feel about this mental health stuff. If you go to my website on the far left, there are several videos there for free on the neurology of brain health, how stress actually burns your brain, how you repair your brain. And I'm a PTSD survivor. I've got post scans and pre-scans to show the improvement. So this is a serious issue. And I've had a few employees, not at work, but a few employees in the last 2 or 3 months with my clients that have attempted suicide.
Okay.
And it's getting clocked. It's staying closed in, watching the news all the time, not getting out, eating junk food, all that stuff will damage your brain. And it's really serious kind of stuff. So even when they go back, the stress. Yeah. And so that now we're back to the OSHA training. Train people in how you get it. You get it because you touch your face, or you get it because moisture went into your face. Those are your two primary methods of transmission. We can prevent all of that.
Well, and let me just put this caveat in. Please do not, our viewers, please do not try to go through these kind of conversations and situations by yourself.
No.
You know, going back to the 20-year HR person, yes, you may have 20 years of HR, but trust me, you need to partner. So call your labor law attorney or call a very reliable consultant.
Right.
And work it through, partner, please. You know, the problem with my situation is the employee came back and then started telling all the other employees, well, I'm not going to miss this time, and the next time is I'm going to, it's going to work next time. That puts undue pressure on them, and it just complicates the situation even further and further. So again, if you even suspect, partner with your labor law attorney or partner with your HR consultant. Call Scott and I. One of us will be more than happy to work with you. But please be aware that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg on this one. And to Mary's point, this whole confusion and state of chaos may continue for up to 2 years or so. So let's not predict or think that we've got it all figured out.
Yeah. And
Scott, let's go to something happier. Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, think about what David and Mary have been telling you, how difficult it is to just sit down and say, I'm awfully concerned. Right. Here's our EAP number. Yep. Call these people, something like this. It's a compliment. Right.
Right. And again, ADA has us all protected and taken care of. FMLA falls in. So let's slide into FMLA. One of the questions this week, and I think we're going to start seeing it more and more, is, okay, so if they go and get a medical statement, what is considered a medical provider? And I had to start laughing because I thought, nobody really truly understands the long list that FMLA has established in terms of who is a medical provider.
Yeah, I don't encourage people to read that. I put it in my training. That it's like a social worker. Now, honest to God, social workers, when you get to depression or something like this, wonderful. But if I've got a torn rotator cuff, I mean, come on, and it's a pretty exhaustive list. And, quite frankly, when you start getting somebody who, is particularly licensed in voodoo, I probably send them to a neuropsychologist. Okay. Honestly, this gets so specialized. I got a psychiatrist right here in Columbus, Ohio, and I use him a lot, who specializes in narcissistic personality disorders with sexual behaviors.
Oh, wow.
Ergo, sexual harassment training. There you go. Okay. There's all kinds of resources out there. My son is, well, now he'll probably telecommute from Columbus, Ohio to Chicago online, but he's in his second year of his master's degree to be a neuropsychologist. So, that's the kind of help that's out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when we're talking about COVID, though, a medical provider for the FFCRA programs can be a nurse practitioner and a physician's assistant.
Yes, it can.
And a clinical psychologist. So I kind of wanted to just reassure our viewers, because I'm saying, hey, if they go to the little clinic or if they go to the pharmacy and you're able to get an evaluation, that's okay.
Yeah. It's a very broad perspective these days. And I will tell you, you just start showing, well, I went and I'll show it to you later. I got a crown today. Okay. And they took my temperature and I'm like, okay, but it's not just the temperature, but it's all these other things. So if you have a couple of things at all that might smell or look or taste like COVID, guess what? You're getting off. It did not, and I'll tell you, I am amazed at COVID parties and all these other things that are really just, why don't you just go out and grab the bull by the tail? Why don't you just kill yourself now? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I see these things, and my cousin, I told you, spent 30 days at OSU hospital, 15 on a respirator. Her lungs will never be the same again. Okay. I have clients who have been kicked in the head with this stuff. So take it seriously. I admire Costco for manhandling people and throwing them out that wouldn't wear a mask. And I make it fun. I got my Batman, I got my Hannibal Lecter, I got my shark teeth for the lawyer. I will tell you right now, Pandy, if somebody is coming down with symptoms and they call them in, they will be able to teleport something with their doctor, get something off their patient portal, which my doctor's patient portal is terrible, but they can fax stuff over. I'll tell you, automatic, get 14 days off.
Well, and that's a really good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. That caveats us into the next comment. Telemedicine is, in many cases, going to be approved as an in-person visit.
Get used to it.
Please be careful. Again, just another one of those things that are changing. because of this COVID situation and all the compromises we're having to make. So don't.
I can have a doctor's appointment in the car.
Oh. When it
I
was
can go to the bathroom and sit in a stall. I can go home. Yeah. No, the world's changing. I'll tell you, it'll never be the same again. It's like 9/11. The world was never the same after 9/11. It's like Pearl Harbor. Never again. And this is one of those watershed moments. The world will never, for the rest of our lives, you will see people at some time wearing masks.
Yeah. Update with Colorado. Colorado has made a number of changes because of COVID, and it's involving paid leave and heightened whistleblower and PPP protections. The list is actually, there's about 5 things that have changed in Colorado. Please, if you have any employees in Colorado, be looking at this. I think it's interesting that they even heightened and changed their whistleblower policy, because again, this goes back to, if you've got someone who's reporting something unsafe and concerned, you've got to be daggone careful what you do with that individual.
Yeah, write this down. Don't be stupid, okay? If you speak up, first of all, you are protected under OSHA, okay? And I will tell you, you complain about, if management's going to not take it serious, they're going to complain about management. Now we're back to our favorite, Pandy, the National Labor Relations Act. You see, if the human resource person or profession was a person, the feet would be the law. If you don't know the law, and that's business owners too, if you don't know the law, you will take a step one day and you'll hear a click, and that's you losing your leg. That's a landmine. Don't mess around.
We just need to have the right Scott in our corner to help protect us when we have questions, and not assume we have all the answers.
No, and I'll
Exactly.
tell you,
We can't afford it. Honestly, I don't have the time and energy to know all the law and read up on all that and do everything else I need to do as a business owner. But that's why we need trusted advisors, and not to hesitate and say, I don't want to spend, is this worth the $500 an hour they're going to charge me for the 10-minute conversation?
Well, Scott, we're both cheaper than that.
Yeah,
we're both cheaper than that.
You see my overhead, right?
Just
You need to raise your rates.
Yeah, really. It's just like, I could work half the time, so. But no, it really is. I will tell you, litigation it is a horrendous experience. And I will tell you right now, I got a client going through it right now. They could have settled the whole thing for 25 grand. But the principle of the thing is that someone that was kind of running a prostitution ring, and then they fired her, and she's suing because she complained about sexual harassment. Okay. But anyway, I don't care what it costs. That's his whole thing. I don't care what it costs. Yeah, but you didn't realize that I'm going to chain one of your people to a copier for 3 weeks. I mean, it's usually
making legal decisions on principle does not help a business.
No, but I will tell you, they're usually, I don't run into business owners who want to do something illegal. They just say, well, I don't know why I can't do this. Well, you can't do it that way. You got to do it this way. Okay, tell me what you want to do. I'll tell you how to do it.
Okay, FMLA forms have changed. Please be aware of that, viewers. Guys, just another reminder, you don't have to use the updated ones. You can continue using the old ones. The content hasn't changed, especially if you're giving out the forms yourself and not using a TPA. But just be aware that they're available. They're online. And the poster doesn't change. You do not have to update your federal labor law posters and any of that. But I like it because you can fill it online. The individuals can fill it out online now, and it's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit nicer there. I also want you to go back, and again, we've talked about the employee benefit broker. I want you to go back because they have now made some additional changes that go into effect in regards to the COBRA notices. So if you are administering your own COBRA notices, please make sure that you're using the proper ones on that, because that will get you into trouble.
You really do need somebody to help you with those COBRAs, because those COBRA notices, I mean, I've got some different things on COBRA, but I always say, go call your broker, because those are fluid.
Right. And if you've got individuals that you've furloughed and now you're having to completely terminate them, you've got to send out these notices that the rules have not changed. So definitely work with that. There's cafeteria plan election changes, which are going to be very exciting for individuals on your plans. This is new news, and I'm really thrilled with the flexibility that they're now offering on the cafeteria plans. And those are medical plans that are the deductions come out pre-taxed.
Yeah.
But again, your broker will be able to share that with you. I know we could just keep on talking forever and ever and ever, but guys, viewers, I hope we gave you something that you didn't have when you joined us this morning or this afternoon. You know how I am. I wanted you to be equipped. I want you to be engaged, and I want you to be able to take whatever we've given you or offered you and go and apply it. And these shows they just can't continue unless we get your feedback. So I will look forward to hearing from any of you about anything, good and bad. You don't have to like us. Just tell us what you need so we can help you.
How do they get hold of you, Pandy?
They can get a hold of me either by the station ICRC-TV or at the Human Resource USA. Mary Miller, thank you so very much for joining us. David Shens from ERP Suites, Scott Warwick from Scott Warwick Employment Services, and me, Andy Pridemore. We want to thank you. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
Stay healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Take care.